Hi there, in this video we are going to solve inequalities by multiplication or division. More specifically, one-step inequalities. One-step inequalities by multiplication or division. Alright, so step one is to identify what operation is being done to x, and then you would do the inverse or the opposite on both sides of the inequality symbol. All right, so the inequality symbol kind of gets treated like the same way we treated equations, the equal sign in equations. All right, so something that you already learned that you should already have ingrained in your head is the inverse of multiplying a fraction is multiplying its reciprocal on both sides. Okay, so in other words, if you have something like this, 1/2 x is equal to 5, right? The opposite of taking half of a number would be to double it. So multiply by 2 on both sides, or multiplying by its reciprocal. All right. So then that'll leave you with x equals 10. Just a little refresher. All right, and now we have here the golden rule of inequalities is that when you have negatives, all right, you need to be very careful. All right, when you end up multiplying or dividing, when you multiply or divide both sides by the same negative number, you must flip the inequality symbol. Right? This is so important, and it is new. All right, so at the step where you have to multiply or divide both sides by the same negative number, you need to make sure you flip the inequality symbol. All right, let's go through some examples so you can see that. Here we have 8a is greater than 48. We're going to treat this like we do any equation by finding what's being done to a. A is being multiplied by 8. And we're going to do the opposite, which is divide both sides by 8. Okay, and now we have a is greater than 6. Done. And number 2, we have negative 4x is less than negative 16. All right, so here we are going to divide each side by negative 4. These cancel. We're left with x on the left. We're left with positive 4 on the right. Now, you'll notice here we divided both sides by the same negative number. So, what that means is this inequality symbol now, we are going to flip it so that instead of less than, it is greater than, because that is the golden rule of inequalities with negatives. All right, so because here you divided both sides by negative 4, you divided both sides by the same negative number in this step, that's why we flipped the inequality symbols. All right, we did not do that here because here we divided by positive 8, so no need to flip. All right, but here we had a flip because we divide both sides by negative 4. All right, moving on. 1/3 x is greater than negative 15. If you can recall what I just said earlier about fractions next to the variable, in order to get rid of the fraction, the inverse of multiplying a fraction by the variable is to multiply by its reciprocal. So the opposite of taking 1/3 x would be to triple it or multiply it by 3 over 1. Okay, multiply by its reciprocal. So we're multiplying each side by 3 over 1. So these cancel. We are left with x is greater than negative 45. We don't need to worry about flipping anything because here and here those are positive 3's that we multiplied on both sides. All right, so since they're positive 3's that we multiplied on both sides, this symbol stays greater than, doesn't flip. All right, next we have here 20 is less than or equal to negative 5x. I'm going to divide each side now by negative 5. And, oh, look at that. I divided both sides by a negative. That means that this will no longer be less than or equal to. That will be greater than or equal to because I divided by the same negative number. I divided there by negative 5. All right, these guys cancel. We have x on the right. 20 divided by negative 5 is negative 4. So here's my answer. Negative 4 is greater than or equal to x. Now, I know a lot of people don't like writing the answer this way because it's a little bit more difficult to graph with the x on the right side. So you could always just rewrite it so that x is less than or equal to negative 4. If you have trouble with that, just look to see. The corner is next to the x here, so the corner has to be next to the x here. All right, when you go to rewrite it. But yeah, you obviously don't have to do that. If you just left it as negative 4 is greater than or equal to x, that's fine. Just here is your important step. You divide it by a negative, so these flipped. All right, moving on. X divided by 10 is less than negative 5. So we're going to multiply, right? If you put in a 1 here, you now have 1/10 x. So I'm going to multiply both sides by the reciprocal, which is 10 over 1. You can also think of it like x is being divided by 10. So the opposite would be multiplying by 10. I'm going to cancel these out, and I have x is, well, what am I going to do with my symbol here? I multiplied by a positive 10, not a negative 10. So we're good here. We're going to keep that symbol as less than negative 50. All right, number 6, we have x divided by negative 4 is less than or equal to 3. I'm going to insert my 1 here, and now I have 1 over negative 4. So now I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal, which is negative 4 over 1. All right, look at that. I multiplied both sides by a negative, right? Negative 4 over 1 is here and here. That means that this symbol is going to flip into greater than or equal to. All right, and now hopefully we know how to do the rest of this, right? These guys cancel. We're left with x here. And now 3 over 1 times negative 4 over 1 will get us negative 12. Over 1 if you want to put it over 1, but simplify it, it'll just be negative 12. All right, here now I'm going to insert the 1. We have 1 over negative 3. Y is greater than negative 2. So I'm going to now multiply both sides by negative 3 over 1. Multiply by negative 3 over 1. I multiplied by a negative, so that means this needs to flip to be less than. All right, and now I have these cancel. We're left with y on the left is equal to negative 2 times negative 3, which is positive 6. So I have y is less than positive 6. All right, over here, I am going to insert the 1 in front of the k, and I have now 1 over 2k, or 1/2 k. The opposite would be to multiply both sides by its reciprocal. So multiplying each side by 2 over 1. These guys cancel. We're left with just k is, well, do we need to flip that? No, we don't, because here and here are positive. We multiply both sides by a positive 2. So that symbol, we're going to keep it. And then we have negative 6. So there's your answer. Negative 6 is greater than or equal to k. Or if you're the type of person that likes to write the variable on the left side, then you have k is less than or equal to negative 6. Right? You could tell by, again, the corner has to be next to the k. As long as the corners are where they belong, then the inequalities are the same. All right, so that's it. Hopefully you learned how to solve inequalities with multiplication and division. Thank you for watching.